We're out here at the Overland Expo campground, and there's a very cool guy out here from YouTube, another channel, and we're gonna take a close-up look of his rig and trailer today. Stay tuned. Hey, welcome to TrailRecon. I'm Brad, and today, guys, I am really excited to share with you a very cool gentleman, Jason Koertge. Man, brother, it's so nice to finally meet you in person.
Thank you.
He's running a YouTube channel over there, and you're running a Toyota with a trailer and doing some cool adventures. Man, it's awesome to meet you. I'm so excited to take a look at your truck and trailer. But before we do that, man, tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got into YouTube and what your kind of future plans are.
Well, you know, I have 7 kids. I have 5 at the house, 2 that aren't at the house. I'm a small business owner. I drove sports cars forever. Had BMWs, and I don't want to slam BMWs, but they broke down all the time. And frankly, I just wanted to get into something I didn't have to think about whether or not it was going to be reliable and, you know, work or whatever. So I had actually decided I was going to go Toyota. I did not want to buy a Camry. Nothing wrong with Camrys. Just wanted to try maybe having a truck or something. Yep. So I was like, Tacoma 4Runner, trying to figure it out, and ultimately I decided on the 4Runner because I have a lot of camera gear and computers, and I didn't want to have to worry about what was going on in the bed of the truck, even if I put a camper shell on it. I just wanted to have it just inside the vehicle. And so I decided to go with the 4Runner Trail model as well. Primarily because I wasn't sure what I was getting into. I didn't know anything about off-road or 4x4 or anything, but I knew that it had things like factory rear locking differential, and I knew that that would be something that would be handy later on, and it had some things like crawl control and other things like that that at the time I didn't know anything about, but I knew that maybe someday it might come in handy as well. And so, you know, I've camped off and on. I didn't camp growing up. My dad was like not into camping at all, and so it was fine. Yeah. But when I got older, I started kind of camping when I was a little bit older, and never did off-roading, 4-wheel driving, but I kind of thought it sounded interesting. And then I like stumbled this whole world of overlanding, which is like, you know, I kind of describe it as like camping and off-roading and kind of adventure travel bundled into one. And like this whole world opened up. Yeah. And I think the 4Runner is a really good platform for it. I've been really happy with it. And from a reliability perspective, I have 62,000 miles on it. I've never had a problem, which is awesome. Yeah, so I don't know, that's kind of my backstory. I'm pretty new and inexperienced, but I'm learning, I'm having a blast doing it.
Yeah, and now what year is this?
This is a 2016 Trail Edition.
All right, and it's not stock anymore, and we're gonna talk about all the kind of cool stuff you've been doing to it. What have you done to the front here?
So the front end, you know, I really like the way the 4Runner looks from the factory. It's a really common thing to replace the front bumper with a full metal bumper. I didn't go that route right away for a few reasons. Like I said, I like the look of the front of the 4Runner, and then also weight. I've been increasingly conscious of weight because while we have 275 horsepower, that's not like a little amount of, but it's like every time you add weight, you got to kind of think about the fact that you're going to be decreasing your mileage and acceleration responsiveness, all this other stuff. Right now I've got a C4 Low Pro bumper. Just had it rhino lined actually a few weeks ago because the powder coating, there's like kind of some sharp edges and it was kind of chipping off in some areas. But in that C4 Low Pro bumper, I'm running a Smitty built 10,000 pound winch. I'm not sure the model number. And it's been a great product. I haven't had any issues with it whatsoever, and I've used it a good handful of times. And then inside the bumper, I also am running an Extreme LED dual white amber 25-inch light bar. I believe it's that size. And it's cool because I can control that independently. I can turn on the amber or the white. And I run the amber actually a lot on the trail. And I've got an amber light in the back too, and it's nice for visibility. People can see me coming and going. And
amber helps to break through that dust that we both hit a lot of. Awesome. What about underneath? You done any armor or anything underneath?
I have some protection in the front. Sort of like in the front middle, I'm running RCI aluminum skid plates. I've got a front skid plate, transfer case skid plate. I believe I'm pretty new to the technical terms here. A transmission skid plate as well. And I opted for aluminum instead of steel, even though it's technically not very strong or as strong, primarily because the aluminum is still pretty thick. It's almost, I think it's 1/4-inch aluminum. Don't quote me on that. And so yeah, no, it's not, but it's a lot lighter weight, and I don't have to worry about it rusting, which is also nice. And I'm not a rock crawler. I've been in some compromising situations, but I try to stay out of them. And I've really, even with these skid plates being on for I don't know, 8 months or so, they still really aren't that banged up. So I try to stay away from that kind of stuff anyway. So.
I'm with you. Mine's a little banged up, but it's good to have them there, right? Yeah. Awesome. So now these are not the stock headlights, right?
Correct. Yeah. So what I've done is, well, from the factory, the Toyota low beams and high beams, the high beams weren't really all that bad, but the low beams, it comes with projectors in the headlight housings, but the halogens weren't very bright. So that was actually one of the first things that I wanted to change because, you know, I mean, we want to see better at night. Xenon Depot, very, very easy install, took like 20 minutes, but it really changed the light output dynamic. It's very, very nice. The temperature, I like it a little blue, but it's not super duper obnoxiously blue. I went with their extreme LED high beam, and then I went with an extreme LED fog, and it's an amber fog, and it's nice and yellow, but it projects, it's really bright too. Nice. So I really, really like that product. I've been really happy with it. I've been running it it was one of the first things I did when I bought the 4Runner, and I've never had any issues with it. It's been great.
Awesome. Well, they look awesome. Let's go talk about some other stuff here on the side of the rig.
Perfect.
Jason, you got a lift on this?
I do have a lift on it. It's nothing super fancy.
Okay.
I've got some things in the works, but what I have right now was really, it kind of came from the direction of like not knowing what I'm doing yet. And so I wanted to, before I spent like thousands of dollars on something that was complicated, that had like adjustability and all these like bells and whistles that I had no idea how to use, I just wanted something simple. I really, my only goal at the time was to increase ground clearance. I have an OME setup. It's basically a 3-inch lift kit. They sell it for about $900 at Toy Tech or anybody else that sells ARB products, because OME is an ARB product. And it's about a 3-inch lift all around.
Okay.
And actually I bought it used, interestingly enough.
Okay,
I bought it like half the price on the forums.
It's good.
Because like I said a minute ago, there's a lot of options out there. I had no idea what I was looking for, or what I would need. But anyway, so on the front end I had light duty coils, and on the back I had medium duty coils. And I actually just recently changed out the front end coils to medium duty coil from the light. But early on I realized that I really needed something else. And we'll get into this in the back in a minute, but I did add some stuff in the back that added a lot of extra weight. And it wasn't so bad whenever I wasn't trailering, but the trailer was just enough. I have a Turtleback trailer, we'll see that. It was just enough to where it made the back end sag a little bit. Okay. So I put heavy duty coils in the back, fix that problem, so that's what we're running right now.
How does it drive down the road? Are you happy with it?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I don't have anything to compare it to, but I'll you know, and I came from sports cars, and so and I won't say it's a rough ride. It is a little bit of a stiffer ride than I think from the factory, but I'll tell you, so I bought my wife a 200 series, a used 200 series Land Cruiser a few months back, and I was like, ooh, the ride is nice and soft, and it was, you know, and so then it got me thinking, like, I wonder if that's what I should be having. So anyways, cool. We're working on that.
All right, let's talk wheels and tires. Now these are the stock rims?
These are the stock wheels. You know, I'm not a real big wheel guy. You know, one of the things that I really liked about the Trail Edition 4Runner is I really liked the wheels. Like, it might sound funny, but it's like my brother, every time he'd buy a car, he'd like replace the wheels first thing. And like, I know tons of people that would do that. I've never been that way. Like, I've always I would buy a particular model of a type of car, and then I would I just like the factory options. You know what I mean? Like, so I have the factory trail wheels. I really like them, and turns out from a performance perspective, I think they're a really good option. They're a 7.5-inch wide rim, 17 by 7.5 inch. I think they're fairly lightweight. I think they're a well-made product. I'm running BF Goodrich KO2s, 285, 70-17 size variant, which is a really common size for this wheel and for the 3-inch lift on a 4Runner. There's a lot of people running 295s and 305s. There's a little more modifications you have to do. Even running the 285s, there was quite a bit of rubbing on the front like bumper, like on the corners, and then obviously on the mud flaps in the back. And there's a real common modification on the 5th gen 4Runner, like I think it's T4R forums or whatever, but it's called the Fender Liner Mod. It's very simple. And so I did that and did a real good write-up on that, by the way. I don't know a whole lot about tire size and how it affects things and all that, but you know, a lot of the decisions that I've made and things that I've done and the reasons why I've done them has really been grounded on seeing what other people are doing, and then like talking to them and like having some dialogue and saying, hey, what did you like about this? What did you not like about this? What did you know, and just so that I can, for me, it's like in the spirit of like education. I'm just trying to learn and become more educated on what I'm doing and why.
As we all are, man. As we all are. I love the KO2.
We never stop learning.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's jump into rock sliders. What do we got?
So that was another thing that was like, I really wasn't sure what to do. There's a lot of options for rock sliders out there. So I got these Slee rock sliders, and when I was looking around for them, I really, a lot of people in the 4Runner community felt like they were really ugly because I think that the styling that they liked, like that bar, they really liked that. This doesn't look like that at all. They they're flat. I think they look awesome. They're, in my opinion, they're my favorite slider option out there. So they function pretty well as a step, but here's the funny thing. So after I added the lift and the tires, I probably had an additional 4 inches of clearance. My wife, she's pregnant at the time. She goes, you know, that's not really a step, right? I mean, really, it's only about 2 inches lower than where the entry of the vehicle is, but I really like them. I've been real happy with them.
Awesome. Let's jump up to the top. Tell me what we got going on up top.
So I'm running a flat rack. It's a K9, a 2.2 meter rack from Easy On. I've been happy with it. Obviously I've got a high lift jack here on the side. I've got my max tracks that I keep up there, my recovery boards. I had like a mounting bracket. Somebody I knew, I don't even remember who it was, but they had the capability of making like basically an aluminum bar with some holes in it, and they mounted that. So they did it for me. It's a good product. They think, I don't know. It works. And then on the other side, I have hard mounted 4Runner. I think they're called the Wolfpack boxes. It's the larger box that you can get. Are you familiar with those boxes at all? They're like the best, because you can spend a lot of money on some of these boxes you put on the roof. These are the best cheap boxes I've ever seen. I think they're like $35 to $50, somewhere in that price range. And I'll tell you, I don't keep anything in them that I'm afraid to get wet. You know, like if it's not the end of the world if it does. But I have driven in torrential downpour with these things on my roof, and they still don't leak. And they'll tell you like yeah, they're water resistant, but we don't give any guarantees. And they're freaking awesome. I mean, I love them. And so I have them kind of like bolted there, and I keep recovery gear. I keep my compressor, my ARB in a box compressor up there. And then here's kind of the cool thing is I have a 100-watt solar panel up here in the front, and I have it hard mounted. And the reason why I did that is I did swap out my battery for a Group 31 AGM battery. I had to do a little bit of negotiating with the space. But the Group 31 batteries, they really need to be topped off every now and then to maintain proper battery health. And the only way to do that, because the 4Runner's alternator's not going to feed it enough juice to actually top it off properly, is to have either plug it in or be able to feed it power from the sun. I had a 50-watt panel, it wasn't pushing enough juice. Swapped it out for a 100-watt panel. It's just a Rhenology 100-watt thing from Amazon. And then I have a solar charge controller in the back. We can get to the back in a second, but I basically run the wires back to the back into the hatch to the charge controller, and I have like, I think like an 8-gauge wire running from the charge controller through the body, through the firewall up to the battery. And I think it keeps the battery topped off, but and so the reason why I did that though is because I'm running a fridge, and we'll get to the back in a minute, but it's a constant drain on the battery. And so I just wanted to be able to constantly feed the power.
It's working for you.
It's working for me.
Awesome. Well, let's go take a look at the back, because you got some cool setups back there.
Let's do it.
All right, Jason, you are way more organized than I am, man. I could take a lesson from you here. What do you got going on back here?
I disagree with that. I saw your vehicle earlier. It's very neat and tidy. But I have kids, and things are moving around a lot for me. So, you know, the back of the 4Runner, there's a lot of room in there, and this has also been an evolutionary process for me as well. I really wasn't sure what I needed to begin with, but I knew that I'll tell you the story. What happened is I got tired of running a cooler. And so I wanted to run a fridge. I needed a place to put the fridge, but I didn't want the fridge to stay put. I wanted to be able to slide it out and be able to have access to the fridge, et cetera, et cetera. And so at that point, I decided I needed to start looking for like a drawer system. And there's a few drawer systems out there. I mean, there's some really good quality options. But I landed with the ARB product because I don't want to say I'm like an ARB loyalist or even elitist or anything, but everything that I've used from ARB, I've had a good experience with. So I figured I'll just go with the ARB product, and I know people that are running it, and it's been a good product. And to be honest, I've used it for, I mean, it's been probably about a year or so, and I really haven't had any issues with it. I mean, I've been real happy with it. So I've got ARB drawers. They come in lots of different configurations, but I've got this big tall drawer right here, and then I've got the smaller drawer with the roller floor thingy. And so, you know, this has got storage, obviously. This has got storage. It's really nice because they kind of lock into place, so if I'm at different angles, they won't move away from where I want them to be. And there's a lot of storage, and they just, I just like them. I've been happy with them.
You got some storage up on the side too. Tell us a little bit about what we got over there.
I do. So there's a couple of companies that make these panels. I don't know what they call them, but they're like a molly panel, and I don't know if they're aluminum or steel. I mean, I don't really know. I think the company that I worked with here is Orange Box Fabrication.
Sure.
But basically, the window space back here behind the ABC pillar, it's useless space. I mean, it really is, like, you can't use it for anything.
Right.
You can't see out of it. You can't see any of it. It's mostly for exterior aesthetics, I believe, for the 4Runner. I was originally sticking suction cup mounts for my GoPros and stuff, just storing them up there.
Sure.
And then when I saw these, I was like, that's the coolest application for that space ever. So I installed them up there. They're really underutilized because I don't know what I'm looking for in terms of stuff, but I literally have like those little hooks that you can get to screw in, like from Walmart in the hardware section, zip tied, so that I can hang hats and a spare pair of Chacos for water crossing inspections or whatever. But I just have bags and I have some straps hanging stuff. I got my solar charge controller zip tied to it.
Yeah, that works.
Machete, you know, just stuff that was like literally just laying around.
Yeah.
It's now there, and it's just there.
So this is only a taste of what's to come, because we're going to be talking about the trailer, which has got a lot more storage and equipment. But before we do that, let's jump in the truck and talk about your comms.
Heck yeah. So, you know, when I'm on the trail, I mean, obviously when you're driving in any sort of compromising situation, you want to be comfortable. You want to have things accessible. You don't want to be fumbling around looking for stuff. So I've got a camera mount here. A lot of people ask me about this, and I can face the camera forward, or I can face it back for doing talking headshots for, you know, for content for our channel. I get a lot of questions about this. It's a RAM mount, iPad mount, and interestingly enough, on the highway, this is mostly used for movies with the kids. So we have it kind of faced this way, and we load it up with movies. And then for whenever I'm on the trail, it's my primary navigation setup. And I run Gaia GPS, I'll preload maps, stuff like that. The RAM mount, it's pretty interesting. I put 2 ball mounts here and here for stabilization. And it's, you know, it's pretty stable. It'll shake, but it doesn't really move around. You know, I'm not doing anything sophisticated with comms at the moment. I'm doing just handheld, I think a Baofeng ham radio or something. And the primary reason is I don't know a whole lot about that stuff yet, and I didn't want to sink a lot of money into it before I really had a better understanding, because, you know, you can spend a lot of money on it, but I don't know, I didn't even know what to buy, so I don't want to waste my money. I'll figure it out first. Yes. But I have a nice handy little strap here that I screwed in that it holds my radio, and then I also screwed in a RAM mount X grip here for my iPhone, because I found I also like to have reference access to my iPhone for reference for, you know, maybe secondary navigation or something like that. Nice. I mean, that's really about it. Switches. We should probably talk about the switches, because that's kind of an important thing. I am running an S-Pod. Okay. I know that that's a pretty common switch application. I wanted something that I wasn't going to have to run wiring every time I added a new light or something like that. And so I'm sure, you know, your viewers are familiar with S-Pod, but it's great because I can run the wiring for the light or whatever I add directly to the S-Pod under the hood. I already have cable ran through the firewall that goes to the switch panel. This space down here on the 4Runner is completely and utterly useless for anything, but it's perfect if the S-Pod switch fits perfectly. And so I literally just I glued it in there, and it's perfect. Nice. And so
it's all working for you.
I mean, that's really it. Yeah, that's it. Nothing super complicated.
Let's go talk trailer.
All right.
So I'm excited to hear about the trailer you got, man. Tell us about it.
So this is actually the second Turtleback trailer that I've owned. Okay. So the first one I got was the first generation. I bought it used, and I'll get into the evolution of why I bought the trailer in a second. But now that one lives with my business partner, so it's kind of still in the family. And what we're running right now is the 2018. It's kind of like the best of the best Expedition model. I think it's called the Expedition trailer. So it's trailer by Turtleback. Okay. And you know, the first couple of trips that I went on, you know, I was doing ground tents and I was doing cots because I can't really sleep on the ground because of my back and neck. And you know, I had no kitchen, we were cooler and camps, and you know, all that stuff works just fine. But you know, for the trips that we like to do, I like to move every day. And when you're spending 2 hours setting up and 2 hours breaking down, and you're moving every day, half of your day is consumed setting up and breaking down. So I was like, man, after the first trip, I was like, this is exhausting. And after doing this a few times, I mean, it evolved and got a little better, but I started thinking like man, I was doing some research, and turns out, you know, a lot of this stuff can be made to be a lot simpler.
Yeah.
And if I was just by myself, that'd be one thing, but I have kids. Sometimes I have 2 or 3 kids with me, you know, someday I'd like to have my wife, you know, it's just, there's all these things, and you know, every 5 minutes you add to anything, that times 10 new things you've added, well, now you've added 50 minutes,
right.
And it adds up over time.
Yep.
And so, I mean, that was really it. That was why I wanted to go with the trailer option. And so this is a Turtleback trailer. There's a lot that goes into it, but basically, in summation, I've got a rooftop tent. I can pull into camp, and if we've already had dinner, I can have, depending on temperature and other things, I can have camp set up and in bed in about 10 to 15 minutes.
Nice.
I could never do that with a ground tent.
Yeah.
You know, you got to unload, set up cots. I mean, it was a bigger process.
Sure.
This, deploying a rooftop tent, you know that, you've got one.
Yep.
It's a very quick and easy process. If we need to prepare dinner, I can be in bed in about 45 minutes, because you got to pull the kitchen out, and then like 30 of those minutes cooking dinner. I mean, not really, but
Right.
I'm a terrible cook. And when I say temperature, you know, I mean, if it's going to be really like 38 or below, or 35 degrees or below, I'm going to set up the awning room, primarily because I'm going to run a Mr. Buddy heater in there, and it's going to keep us really comfortable up there.
Yep.
Nice. But you know, that's kind of the summation of why I picked, why I chose to overland with a trailer. There's a lot of things that are special about the Turtleback. I couldn't tell you what makes it different from some of the other trailers out there. The main reason why I bought a new one is because I was so happy with my first generation one. I mean, it was really well made, it was high quality, and I was just like, I wanted some of the newer bells and whistles that they had, because obviously it's evolved over time. And so some of the things that delineate the difference, or some of the things, I guess some of the high point features of this, it's almost like an RV, but everything's in the outside. So I've got 42-gallon water storage. I've got a gas propane water heater, not gas, but propane water heater. I've got a kitchen in the back with integrated stove, and it's all piped and plumbed for the propane, right? So I don't have to like plug in any hoses or route anything, or pull out any stoves or anything like that. I've got the water storage inside. I've got lots of other storage inside as well. Plus, and this is the cool part, it's full electrical. So I have 2 Group 31 deep cycle marine grade batteries up in the nose box, and that's all piped and plumbed, wired or whatever, into a control panel that's in the side box. And it's, you know, lights and water heater and just everything. It's great. I've got a 2,000 watt inverter, charge controller, and I believe it's also got a solar charge controller as well. But the thing that's cool about that is, like I was saying earlier, the 4Runner doesn't put out a whole lot of power. So it's actually not adequate to charge those batteries, but this amplifies that from the way I understand it, and it will properly top off the trailer batteries, which is cool. And so it's really neat. I can pull into camp, I can go into the side box, I can flip on the exterior lights, I can flip on the interior lights, I can turn on the water pump and the heater, and then I can deploy the kitchen, I can get dinner going, deploy the tent. It's just a really, really great ready-made turnkey setup.
Nice.
That's, you know, awesome. So it makes it's nice and simple, and not as complicated. It's an expensive way to go. It's not for everybody, but it's for me. I like it.
And you know, how's towing it on the trail?
Towing on the trails, it's fine on the trail. Really, my only gripe with the entire setup is the lack of power on the 4Runner on the highway.
Okay.
You know, and it's mostly because, you know, flat highway driving's okay. You know, when you're doing a hill, and a lot of the mountain stuff, I feel like we spend a lot of time in 3rd gear, but, you know, I mean, it is what it is. When you're going slow on the trail, it's actually great. It's totally fine. You know, in the, you know, 10 to 30 mile an hour range on trails, and even going on technical stuff, the trailer is actually made to be able to handle technical trails. You can do, I mean, we've done some crazy stuff.
I've seen the video.
You know, I mean, and I wouldn't seek that kind of stuff out, you know, but that was a fun trip, and I had somebody that was very experienced to help get us through that. But there's a lot of ground clearance. It's designed to where there's nothing underneath that you're going to beat up or be able to get abused. You know, and it's built to be very rugged and very tough. And it handles the abuse very well.
Nice. I'd like to take a close-up look at the kitchen. Can we do that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, man. This is a dream kitchen setup. Tell me what we got going on back here.
It really is. I mean, when you come in terms of like camping, the thing that I like the most about overlanding with the trailer is that I can stock my trailer, keep it packed and ready to go. And you know, before the trailer, you know, you're having to load and unload the vehicle. I'd spend like a whole day getting ready. With the trailer, I can leave everything there, and the only thing I'm packing is clothes or little incidentals for that particular trip, and I'm running a grocery store run on the way out of town, and that's it.
Nice.
So I can get up and go pretty quick.
Cool.
The cool thing here, I mean, I've got a pantry here, so I've got a lot of storage here. I keep, you know, like grocery dry goods, things that are like non-perishables, macaroni and cheese, soup, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you know, of course, you have locking drawers, so they stay in place.
Nice.
They come out when you want them, and don't when you don't.
And you've got drawers down here.
I've got some storage down here.
Storage.
Keep
everywhere.
all the silverware and dishes here. And you know, I've got a Dometic sink, which is a real nice high-end sink, hot and cold water, because I've got a, like I said, propane water here.
Sure.
Very deep sink, so it's plenty of room to clean. And then I've got a Cook Partner stove. I believe it's 10,000 BTUs per burner.
Okay.
I mean, it really goes. I mean, you gotta kind of watch it because it burns real quick, real fast. And then there's lots of tables. This is an improvement that they had over the model that I had previously. We've got a table here. We've got more storage here. We've got a better stove, better sink, and then we've got another table here. It's funny. I was talking to Sarah, Kevin's wife, with Lifestyle Overland, and she was saying, you know, this is her favorite table. And I was like, why? And she's like, because you can close it up. It never gets dirty.
Right.
And because you know, you close it up, close the door, whatever. This table obviously gets dirty. They're nice, high quality stainless steel tables. They're really durable. You can put a lot of weight on them. You can take a hot pan and put it right on it. It's not going to hurt anything. So it's awesome. There's a lot of storage space. Plus, you know, if you can have this down in more flat surface area, this is designed the way it is so that you can have surface area on top of that.
It's awesome.
So it's pretty cool. And then I've got a Foxwing 270-degree awning. And just like the vestibule room, it's something that I almost never deploy. But in an environment like this, where I'm base camping, or if it's raining, I'll deploy it in the rain. And I'll use that there. And I've got a couple side walls, which kind of help increase privacy. But yeah, you know, around the outside of the trailer, there's a lot of storage. I know it's a camping dream come true.
It really is a great setup, dude. I love it. It's very awesome, brother. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us, to share with the viewers all your stuff. I really appreciate your YouTube channel. Keep doing what you're doing, man. I think you're doing great stuff. Guys, if you have not been over to his YouTube channel, I will leave a link in the description. Go check it out. Subscribe to his channel. You will love his videos. And oh, by the way, I know a lot of you have been asking for a rig walk around of my Jeep. Well, he just did that. So head over to his channel. Go watch that, guys. If you're visiting TrailRecon for the first time, hit that subscribe button. I'd love to have you as a member of the TrailRecon team. Thanks for watching.